Alright, welcome to today's video. Today I want to demonstrate how you can get different textures with different materials. So I'm going to split my sheet up into 4 and I'm going to show you how you can get texture with your kitchen towel, rock salt, I've got bubble wrap, and I've got cling film as well. So I'm just gonna mark my canvas into 4. So I'm going to do bubble wrap over here. I do cling film and salt and paper towel. Part of the process for this is letting things dry. So it will be a stage to come back and reveal for the most part, apart from the paper towel that's pretty instant. I'm just gonna get my mask on. Why is it as soon as you get your mask on, you need to itch or sneeze or something? Okay, so rather than you listen to me doing my best Darth Vader impression, I have done this voiceover now. So I am getting started on my paper towel just because that one is quick and easy to show you. I've started with the alcohol first and then I put my ink into the alcohol. I like to work that way because it doesn't move right away. And it gives you a few more minutes, or a few seconds I should say, to get that ink moving in the direction that you want it to do, or want it to go rather. And so I'm just using my little leaf blower there to move it around. And I love this color. It gets all the nice different shades that come through. So once I have the background looking how I want it to, probably spent way too much time on this just for a sample, but that's the artist in me, I guess. I'm going to take my paper towel and show you how to get some texture. So you'll need a spray bottle. That's one way to do it, or you can just dab your ink straight from your bottle onto your paper towel, but I like to use the spray bottle. So I just take my paper towel and I scrunch it as messily as I can, and then take my spray bottle with alcohol in there, and I just spray it off to the side so I'm not spraying over the top of my painting, and then I take that and dab it all over. So this is essentially going to remove some of the ink, but you do get a texture that's left behind, and it's pretty subtle, but it's nice just to kind of change up some areas and make it a little bit more interesting. Another way to do it is to add texture with an ink as well. So I still spray the paper towel with my alcohol, just that then when I put the ink straight onto there, it does disperse a little bit. So I'm dabbing a few blobs of ink, and I'm just gonna use that to add some texture in another color, so I'm not removing all of the ink when I'm placing it down. I gave it another little spray and then just dab on top of the area that you want to get something a little bit more interesting happening. So I did decide that color was just a little too opaque for me, so I'm just finding a darker one. So I grabbed the mermaid color, which is a little bit of a deeper, richer color, and I want to demonstrate how another way that you can apply and change your ink painting with paper towel. So I usually use tiles as my palettes. So I'm going to put some color onto the tile and then dab my paper towel straight into that. You could spray it first if you wanted, or you can just use it straight from the the bottle like that. And again, that's another way to add texture. I do kind of rotate where I'm placing it so I don't end up with exactly the same marks all the time, or re-scrunch it and dab a little bit. And if you need to ever break up the pattern a little bit, you could always spray it with a little bit of alcohol, or spray your paper towel with alcohol and then dab that onto your painting as well. But hopefully you can see how quickly this texture comes about with the paper towel. It's a really quick, fast way to add some in there. But I usually I don't just go kind of once over an area. I do multiple layers, whether it's with ink or removing sections, etc. Like I've just shown you. Next I'm going to move on to the salt texture, which is really cool. This one does need some time to dry, so I'm just getting my salt ready because we do need to put it straight onto the wet ink, so make sure you've got some off to the side. So I'm going to use cobalt for this next box. It's a nice deep blue that you'll get. You'll really see the contrast from the background to the color. So again, I start with my alcohol first and then put my ink straight down, moving it around. I find if I put my ink down first, it starts to spread before I'm ready, which is sometimes okay. See how it's moving there? Whereas when you put the alcohol down first, it suspends in the alcohol and doesn't move until you're kind of ready, which on this practice piece is not a big deal, but obviously when you're painting something specific, it might be an issue. So I've left my ink wet, and straight away I'm adding salt in there, not too clumped together. It's kind of spacing it out. You could add more than what I have here, but I really wanted you to see where the salt is sitting. And even as even with it still wet, you can actually see that some spots are starting to absorb the ink, and so when we remove the salt, that's what's going to be left behind, is these little white spots, but they're nice and irregular because of the coarseness of the salt. Alright, next up for our texture is our bubble wrap. I'm using Dandelion and Wild Plum. So I usually put a base color down first. I'm using two colors that are fairly contrasty, if that's even a word, just so hopefully this will show you how it affects it once the bubble wrap goes down. So I've got my spreading tool here to move the ink around just to fill that box, so we can get everything covered. I've not thinned it out too much because I do want the two colors to mix while it is drying. I don't think I'm used to working this small. I've got my yellow blending into my blue, but that's okay. We will leave it and see what happens. If you wanted to just get bubbles in your yellow color, you can just put your bubble wrap onto your ink as is. If it's wet, just put it straight on there with a weight on top, and if your color on your paper has dried, just spritz your bubble wrap with alcohol and then place it down onto your yellow. But I quite like mixing the two colors. You get a really cool effect sometimes that comes through, although it is unpredictable. I'm still spraying my bubble wrap, or trying to, with the alcohol, and then putting the ink down onto the bubbles. So the bubbles are upwards, so get some on there. Let it kind of work its way through and around the bubbles organically. And then you just want to flip it over and put it straight onto your the spot where you want your bubbles to go. And hopefully that yellow is still a little bit wet, so you end up with this merge, but even if it isn't, because the purple is wet, it will reactivate that yellow and it will mix where they touch. So I'm just going to cut off the excess here so that I can work on the cling film side. I didn't really plan that very well, did I? So I think I'm going to work with my wild plum again in that section. I really love the intensity of that color, it's really cool. So I'm going to start with my alcohol, but I just realized I don't have my cling film ready, which is a good idea, because if you don't use lots of alcohol and it's not going to stay wet for quite a few seconds, you want to make sure that that cling film is ready to put on. So I've just scrunched it up a little bit and that's ready to go. So back to my alcohol and put my ink in there, and then I'm just going to spread that out a little bit. So it's just a little bit wet. You don't need it super runny. You just do want it tacky when you put that down, and you do want to put a weight on it as well. Just like the bubble wrap, it doesn't have to be a massive weight. It just stops the cling film or the bubble wrap coming off. So here are my well-used tile palettes. So we're just going to let that dry, and I will come back to it tomorrow. All right, so let's have a look, see what happened. So let's do this one first. You can see some really cool crease marks in there where the ink is gathered. You could also do multiples of colors, so that might work quite nicely, which is kind of what I did on the bubble wrap here. You see, I left this all night and there's still bits that are a little bit wet, but you can still get the idea of the effect, and that some marks are, where it was wetter, there are more marks than where it wasn't. Where it dried a little bit, there's less going on there. And then our final one is the salt. This one you do want to be really, really wet, but it creates a really nice effect that I really like a lot because it's a little bit more organic. But there you see where the salt was. It's the ink has been absorbed into the salt. Kind of works the same if you've ever worked with watercolors. It's the same thing. The salt absorbs the color, and then when it's dried and you remove it, you end up with these spots where there's a little less pigment, but it's a really nice pattern. So a few different ideas there to help you create some texture with your alcohol inks. Some obviously you need a little bit more patience than others, but hopefully you can have fun with those. Thanks so much for watching.